for those of you that are unfamiliar with the Wholeness Network, we are a platform, a network of amazing teachers and experts from around the world, ones that are great like Nina. And we provide a library of videos, streaming videos, of tutorials, meditations, classes, everything you need for a daily routine to make your life better. Think Netflix for wellness. That's who we are. And we are excited to be here today. If you are not registered through our website, I encourage you to do that really quick, because if you stay down to the end, we will be happy to give you, we'll send out a code for a free month's worth of our platform so that you can enjoy all that we have to offer. We are so thrilled to have Nina here today. Those that are not, that didn't register too, if you go to thewholenessnetwork.com/membership, or if you click on the Join Now tab, you can join even for free, and then we will send you that code for to be able to try out the whole month's worth of all the videos and everything for a month. So we appreciate that. We appreciate you being here. And I am going to turn the time over to Nina, and she's going to get us going and get us started on everything about transforming your self-image. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, before I forget, those that want to have a one-on-one interaction with Nina, if you go to the bottom of your screen and do the raise hand, we will do our best to get as many people to have some one-on-one coaching with Nina as we can. And we're excited that she could spend this time with you. It's really valuable for her to be able to work with you one-on-one. And so we're grateful that she's allowed us to host her today. So I will turn the time over to her. Go ahead and raise your hands whenever you want, and we'll jump back in and see you at the end. Go, Nina.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Michelle, for this beautiful introduction. So this is our first live event together with the Wholeness Network. So hi, everybody. My name is Nina. I'm a success and mindset coach, and I made it a mission of mine to help everybody reach their goals through understanding how the mind works and through getting to know themselves better in terms of self-image and in terms of limiting beliefs and paradigms. So today's topic, the self-image, I think it's one of the most important topics in terms of human potential and success, because it's the self-image that actually reflects and generates all our results and all the aspects of our lives. I will be able to explain this better, but before that, if you guys have any questions so far, don't hesitate to raise your hands. Yeah, let's go. So any questions to begin with? Otherwise, if you don't have any questions, I can go ahead and start talking about the self-image.
Yeah, I say go for that. I think self-image, sometimes, what are some things that come up when we think of self-image? Is it different than self-esteem? Are those different, Nina?
I would say self-esteem is a result of the self-image. So the self-image is basically what we think we are, the inner image that we have about ourselves, and the self-esteem, whether it is there or not, whether it is low or high, it's a consequence of what's this image like in our mind.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes so much sense.
So
yeah, keep going, keep teaching.
Yeah, I actually wanted to start with sharing my own story and the transformations that I've been through in terms of self-image, because this is why I'm here now. If we have met a few years ago and you suggested, Michelle, that I'll be live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Zoom and speaking to a whole lot of people and expecting people to ask me questions, I would say thank you, but I'll pass. I would rather die than do that. So a few years ago, I was a very withdrawn, very shy person. I would blush whenever someone would ask me a question. And even like when I was in school, I would rather not raise my hand and answer the teacher's questions, even if I'm sure I had the right answer. I would rather whisper it to my classmate next to me and actually be happy for them once they get the praise, but not really daring to answer myself and to put myself out there. This is how shy and withdrawn I was. So what happened in between? Like, how come that now I'm here in front of you guys, and I completely transformed the way I look at myself, the way I project myself into the world. So what happened is I started to gain an understanding of how my mind worked, and I started to understand what my self-image and my limiting belief were. And eventually I figured out that, yeah, in order to change my life, in order to have more self-confidence, and in order to generate better results and be the person I wanted to be, I have to get a closer look at what my current self-image was and decide if there was anything that needed to be changed. And obviously, any self-image could be better, whether it be already positive or negative. It could always be better. There's always room for improvement, because we always have the potential of being a greater person and being even more fulfilled and more confident than we are. So this is what I did in the meantime. I've been going through this journey of transformation, and you see that the result is here since I'm here today with you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So any of you that are struggling, if you're having any challenges in your life or troubles that are maybe you don't know that they're linked to your self-image, but any kind of troubles that are happening, a lot of times, wouldn't you agree that the self-image is a factor in the struggles that we're having? We also have a question: is it possible to have high confidence but low self-esteem?
Yes, sometimes that happen, because the high confidence would be what we think we're projecting to the world. We think we seem confident. We are gregarious. We are outgoing. We are extroverted. We don't hesitate to speak in public, and we don't hesitate to speak our mind and our ideas. But maybe we still have a low self-esteem in spite of that. So self-confidence could not be genuine if you don't have a great self-esteem. So in order to decide or figure out what kind of self-image we have, what kind of self-esteem we have to first understand what our limiting beliefs are. We have to first understand how we are acting when we are alone, actually. Let's, like, for example, are you comfortable talking to yourself in the mirror, looking at yourself in the eyes and talking loudly to yourself? Some of us are much more confident talking to other people than talking to themselves in the mirror, than actually saying anything out loud just to themselves. Like, does any of you guys talk to themselves loudly? I don't know. Tell me in the comments, or raise your hand and tell me.
Yeah, probably not as much, but maybe we should, but I mean, that's a good practice, because if that feels really uncomfortable, we know that's a clue, right? That's a clue.
Indeed. I was having a very hard time starting to talk to myself in the mirror, or talking just to myself out loud, because the first thing that your mind would tell you, like, this is ridiculous. Like, why do I need to do that? I could just talk in my head, or like just look at myself in the mirror. I don't need to speak to myself and hear myself speak back to me. That's kind of awkward, because it's kind of like separates the inner and the outer image. It's an awkward and uncomfortable, unusual situation. So I started doing this exercise, talking to myself in the mirror. It was not obvious at all. It was really, really awkward, especially for me at that time. I was super shy and not really used to talk and put myself out there, even to myself. So I started doing that. The very first few moments or times, I would just whisper like 1 or 2 words, like, yeah, you're great, go ahead, or just say some affirmations or things like that. It would just come out as a whisper. But eventually I would just start talking to myself and like look at myself in the mirror in the morning and just say some affirmation. It feels really great. And the difference there was between that time and this is that I was getting to know myself better, because the first time you talk to yourself in the mirror, or the first time you talk to yourself out loud, it's like you're talking to a stranger, someone who's awkward to talk to, because you don't know, especially like it's a paradox, because it's yourself, you're expecting what you're hearing because you're the one saying it, and yet for some reason it feels awkward. So once you get to know yourself, once you break this ice that really doesn't need to be there in the first time, it gets more comfortable. You get to know this person, you get to love this person, and communication gets much more easier.
Yes, I often tell my clients that to look in the mirror and ask, what do you need? What do you need, love? Or what do you need, sweetheart? Or what do you need, my sweet? Something like that. And it's really a really powerful thing to do. Also, if any of you, I've got some great people giving comments in the chat. I would love to have some of you come on, raise your hand, and let's get you to talk with Lena, and let's get you to get some support from her. This is, I'm sure, this is like the goods. We've got a chance to get coaching for free, and we're all friends here, and we can all support each other. But
that reminds me of one of the limiting beliefs that I used to have. Like, I wouldn't dare to ask a question because I suppose like my question is so obvious and maybe everyone else already know what I'm talking about. So I would feel uncomfortable asking the question. But the very first times I dared to ask the question, I figured out like, hey, this is actually not obvious. Everyone else was asking the question, but I'm the one that dared asking it out loud. Mm-hmm. So I gained much more confidence for the next times I had a question, because every time I would say, okay, if I have this question, obviously someone else out there has the same question, but they're not comfortable enough to ask it, or maybe they believe that it's obvious, but it's not.
Yeah, right.
I see another comment saying, I guess you need to believe in those affirmations to convince yourself saying it out loud. It's actually the other way around. Mm-hmm. It's actually, once you get to repeat something over and over and over and over again, you start to believe it, even if it's a lie. So affirmations do not have to be something that's already happened. Like, let's say, for example, I want to have the house of my dreams, for example. Give me an example, Michelle. What's an affirmation of one of your goals that you haven't achieved yet?
I want to have a speaking engagement larger than 5,000 people.
Amazing. So the affirmations should be something like this. Every day in front of the mirror, I'm so happy and grateful now that I've scheduled my live event with 5,000 people attending, and I feel so great about it. And you keep repeating it and repeating it over and over again, and visualizing yourself speaking in front of 5,000 people, even if it's not already there, it's not already real. It's there, it's manifesting, it's in your head. If you can see it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. Mm-hmm. And if you repeat it enough out loud, and you repeat it while getting emotionally involved with it, mm-hmm. it would make it much easier to believe. And once you believe it, you can achieve it much more easier and in a much faster way.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I love it. Thank you so much for that. So let me ask this to some of you. I think maybe some things that get in the way is maybe we have these experiences in the past that maybe make us that's what kind of comes up as we feel like it's a fact that I can't be these things or I shouldn't do these things, because we have these moments in time that kind of, they feel like evidence to the contrary. So what do we do with those thoughts as they arise? How do we work with them? And if anybody has something specific, I'd love for you to get your time with Nina here in this to be free coached right here. So make sure you raise your hand if you want to talk directly and get your direct. But what would you say about that, Nina? What about those pieces, those parts of our lives that seem like evidence for what we don't want, right?
We usually enter a vicious cycle. That is, we see our current results, we see our current limitations, and we see the current situation and circumstance that's not good for us. This would trigger a negative thought. This would trigger a negative thought in terms of negative ideas, in terms of limitation and a stressful situation. And then it will impact our feelings. We will feel depressed, we will feel sad. And then once it impacts our feelings, it will move our body to action.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to say by that is that our thoughts would trigger our feelings. Our feelings would trigger our body to step into action, and our actions will actually generate a reaction from the universe, from another person, from whoever it is, that would generate our results. So, for example, if a student would receive a bad mark in their exam, it will trigger this thought that I'm not worthy, I'm not going to succeed, I'm not going to go to college, or whatever it is that a negative thought can be in this situation. It will trigger a feeling of sadness, of depression, of stress. And the next day they have the next exam, they will go stressed and they will not do better, because they already put themselves in this belief that they're not going to do great. The belief would put them in this situation of stress, and the stress would put their body into this unfocused or shattered focus during the exam, and it eventually generate the same result, that is another bad mark and another bad result.
Mm-hmm. Totally. The whole premise of the Wholeness Network Library is, it's like, if we can get your body feeling well, if you can feel those sensations in your body that feel well, then we can start that the trajectory of all those other things too. Because you're right, it's in the body, it's feeling.
Yes, but we have the power to change that, because we have the power to choose our thoughts.
Yes,
we can accept or reject whatever idea that's coming to us through our five senses. We perceive the world through our five senses, but we have the power, we have the choice to accept or reject whatever idea that we're receiving. If you open the TV, switch on the TV in the morning and open the news, and they're saying that the economy is going bad and there's a recession, it will just move you into a stressful vibration, and you will just spend all your day worrying about your finances. But again, if I start my day listening to some self-development podcast, for example, or a motivational video, or something that will make me laugh and make me cheerful, I would start my day feeling great, and I would do much more of a productive day at work, for example, and the day would just be completely different, because I chose what to listen to, I chose what to see, I chose what to watch, and I chose whatever idea I'm going to accept or reject. So bear this in mind. We always have the choice to accept, ignore, or reject whatever idea is coming to us. You can just, like, if someone is talking to you about something really negative, or just complaining, or we all are surrounded by this kind of people, you can just say, yeah, that's interesting, and then politely just change the subject and try to elevate through a higher vibration, through something more productive, more fulfilling of a subject or an idea.
I love that. So I've got some questions in the chat. I'll just read. So I'm afraid to act confidently because I'm worried I'll become overconfident, and then I'll make a mistake of hubris and be made humble again. Is this rational? What is that we do that?
Rational. Yes. ego, and you should have a strong ego for you to be wanting to win. But there's a difference between having a strong ego and having an ego problem. When you have an ego problem, you notice that you're more competitive, you get into arguments and try to speak your ideas out loud for no reason, for example, just because someone else expressed theirs and you feel it's your duty to step up and say yours just to make sure you're there, you're visible. So try to notice the difference between having a strong ego in terms of feeling worthy and feeling confident enough to speak your mind, and having an ego problem when it comes to being competitive instead of creative, instead of being a good listener. You just want to speak your mind, whatever the other person is talking about. So you can notice the difference once you become more aware of your behavior.
Right. And I think that body will tell you, like you talked about before. Okay, another question. What strategies or exercises can you share for one to stay with a strong self-image, motivated and committed throughout one's self-development journey? So what are some strategies or exercises beyond the mirror, talking in the mirror? Let's talk about that for a minute.
I think discipline is the first exercise we can train ourselves to do. Discipline can be expressed in many ways. Like if you start a new routine, whatever it is, be it wake up 1 hour early every morning, or be it go to the gym every other day, or be it cut out sugar from your diet, could be anything. Just pick something, stay consistent with it, and then reward yourself. Once you spend the whole week without I don't know, whatever kind of bad habit you want to stop, if you stay consistent and if you stay disciplined, at the end of the week or at the end of the deadline that you set up for this, reward yourself. It will elevate and boost your self-esteem and self-worth, and you will feel even more motivated to keep going. And I would say also share whatever that you're doing, whatever journey that you're going through. For example, if I want to start a diet, I would tell my best friend, for example, I'm starting this diet, listening to my nutritionist, I'm trying to do this and that. They will hold you accountable. They would encourage you and they would support you. So you won't just feel alone through this journey, because once you're just by yourself, your paradigm will step in, your bad habits will step in again and say, yeah, this is not worth it, or today I'm not going to go to the gym because of this or that. It would come with whatever excuse that is. So one good strategy is to start with one habit that you want to change. And my advice is to start with a good habit that you want to implement instead of starting with a bad habit that you want to get rid of. Because a good habit is something new. It's not something that you're addicted to already, like, I don't know, sugar or smoking or whatever addictions that we might have. So start with a good habit, implement it, stay consistent, and reward yourself. Once it becomes a habit, you won't even have to think about it. So it's a good strategy to actually prove to yourself that you can do it. You already cut out sugar from your diet. You can now quit smoking because you're able to do this, though. You're able to do that. So this is one strategy I would recommend.
Great. That's great. I love it. Yeah. So reward yourself and start with something that is positive, something that adds to your life versus something that you're trying to get rid of or that may be more difficult, because then you're building that muscle of you can do it, right? You're building that muscle within yourself.
That actually reminds me of something else that is important in terms of self-image, is that once we start this journey of identifying our self-beliefs and identifying our limiting beliefs, especially, we want to change what's bad. We want to focus on our default and saying, yeah, I'm really shy. I want to be more self-confident. So I focus on the shy person. I try to change it. But no, try to identify a few things that you love about yourself. This is actually a good exercise that every one of you guys can start doing today. Identify 3 or 4 things that you really find great about yourself, that you like about yourself, and then enhance those, improve those, get to explore those even more. Like maybe I'm a good listener, so I'll try to speak more to people and stay in touch more with my friends and ask about whatever they're going through and express this good listening ability or skill even more. That's even better than focusing on that. Maybe I talk too much, or maybe I get into arguments really fast, or maybe I'm just nervous around new people. Instead of that, focus on what you do better and do it even better. Just get even better at it.
I love it. Do you think that we're born with a good self-image and it shifts and it changes throughout our lives?
You should see a toddler. The level of self-confidence they have is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
They will not take no for an answer. They believe they deserve it, and they will not listen to your excuses. If they want it, they would just convince you whatever way that they need it, they deserve it, they're worthy of it, and the world is just revolving around them. I'm not saying it's a great approach to life through our adulthood, but we are actually born perfect. We are in terms of self-confidence and self-esteem. But then what happens is that society and the way we are raised and whatever habits that we implement throughout our life will actually make this self-image polluted, let's say, with limiting beliefs. And whatever kind of situation, like maybe sometimes during your teenage years, you get bullied in high school for no reason, but you just have this image of getting bullied whenever you're speaking in public. So you just forget the reason behind it, but the habit, the result is still there.
Mm-hmm. If you walked into a classroom full of young ones and asked them who can color, who can draw, they'd all raise their hand, right? They'd all, I can. If you ask the same adults, they would, not me, we give it the standard, or if I can run fast or anything like that, they would do it. So that's a good thing to learn. Observe some kids for a minute and incorporate some of those into your lives. So we've got some good questions coming up. So someone says, discipline needs some power and perseverance. How can we strengthen our willpower? Should we ask for support in case we don't have enough willpower and commitment? So I think that's so true. It feels true sometimes that we don't have the willpower to do something. How would you answer that question?
Ask yourself two questions. Am I able and am I willing? So once you take the decision to make a change to your life, ask yourself, am I able? And to be honest, all science and theology would tell us that humans are able of amazing things. So you are able, whatever kind of idea that you have in your mind, believe that you are able. And then, am I willing? That's the price to pay. That's the sacrifice, whatever it is that you have to sacrifice in order for you to reach this goal or this change that you want to do. So am I able? Yes. Am I willing? That's your choice. If you want this thing enough and you want it badly enough, you will find a way to do it. If you're just interested or you're just trying it out, you will find an excuse to give up eventually. So should we ask for support in case we don't have enough willpower? Yes, of course. If you're able to get a mentor or you're able to get an accountability partner, that will help you a lot. I try to make many changes throughout your life just by myself. It was very, very hard because once you're just alone with yourself, it's there where all the demons would just get out and try to convince you not to do it for whatever reason they would come up with. But once you have someone that you respect, that you don't want to disappoint, especially, make this person an accountability partner. Tell them that, yeah, starting from today, I'm going to do this and that. I want you to hold me accountable. I want you to check on me and see if I'm doing a good job. And then on my side, I will give you updates. Like every day I will text you and saying like, yeah, today again, I did it again. And I'm so proud of myself. And I want you to be proud of me, things like that. So you keep encouraging each other, and that would enhance and boost a lot in terms of willpower and in terms of consistency.
Yeah, that's what me and you are here for. We don't want people to just dig it out on their own. Like that is really hard to do. That's why, yeah, if that willing part is, am I willing to get help? Maybe, am I willing to work through what I need to work through? That's the part that we're gonna work. The ability to do it is true, but yeah, that willingness incorporates some of those other things, and that's why they would want to come. Someone would want to come have an appointment and discuss some of those parts.
Exactly.
So, yeah, go ahead.
If I may add this, what we want to do here is to change a paradigm. And the paradigm is a set of habits that are so impacting to our life because they are so incorporated into our spiritual DNA. It's a part of us that is like a presetting or a configuration of habits and self-beliefs and limiting beliefs and the way we are raised, even our genes. It controls all our lives. So if we want to change this paradigm in order to change our results, we need to do either one of these two things. The first way to change a paradigm is emotional impact. If we get, for example, through a shock throughout our life, it may change a whole lot of habits suddenly and without any change back. That's not usually a good thing because an emotional impact is usually something negative. So we don't want to get into a shock every time we want to change a paradigm, every time we want to change a habit that we want to change. The second way to do a paradigm shift is to get help, to be mentored, and through repetition. So get yourself a mentor or get yourself an accountability partner, and then stay consistent with that. Through repetition, the message that's incorporating into your daily beliefs and into your subconscious mind will eventually shift, and it will become another part of you that is a different version, let's say, new version of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We've got a question. What do you have to say about imposter syndrome while going through a journey of self-image and self-confidence improvement? How do we avoid or limit having imposter syndrome?
I go through this myself quite often.
Mm-hmm.
I tell myself, like, yeah, what I'm trying to teach people, everyone else is supposed to know that. Like, what am I giving of, like, it's not something new. It's not something I just invented. Everyone else maybe knows that. But
Yes.
as I told you with the example of asking the question, it's not. So once you get to listen to people and know like how they're thinking and how their mind operates, you would see that it's not obvious. So whatever journey you're going through, whatever change you want to make to meet your expectations in terms of self-confidence and to put yourself more confidently out there, it's through repetition that the change will get even more and more comfortable. So as I told you, even if it's a lie, if you repeat it long enough and over and over again, it will eventually become part of your reality.
So good or bad?
Yeah, especially, I mean, we have a tendency of repeating bad things and negative thoughts over and over again, so that eventually we would just believe them. And many people I would notice that many people are actually just humble and trying to stay polite and trying to stay to put their ego off, that they would say negative things about themselves. They would not take praise. Like I would praise my friend, like, for example, for their excellent presentation at work or something, and they would say, no, that's nothing, like I got help or whatever, like, yeah, don't mention it. Right. Oh no, I suck at this, you're just saying this because you're a good friend. Like, take the praise. It's for a reason that I'm giving it to you. Just take it, because feel that you're worthy of it, that you're worth taking it and receiving it. Because if you're blocking whatever positive feedback or praise that you're receiving from the universe and from other people, they'll just stop. Like, I have a few friends that are so uncomfortable whenever I praise their looks or whatever they're doing. The first response, the first reflex is that, yeah, no, don't mention it, or nah, I don't know, like what kind of
this old thing, isn't that what this old thing, that's like the typical, I like your dress, like, no, this old thing.
Why would I stop it? Like, it's It's a good thing. It's a good thought that I'm giving to you. Just receive it, because eventually the universe will say, yeah, this person just doesn't like that. I'll just stop it.
Yeah. And you think to yourself, when you give a compliment, what is your intent in giving that compliment? And if you're giving that compliment, chances are you really want them to, you really think that you really appreciate, or you're really sincere in your compliment. So if you're willing to do that out, then you can kind of help that to come back in. That's what we're doing. All right. I've got a hand raised. Do you want to bring her on? This will be great. Great. You can unmute.
Unmute.
There we go. Perfect.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hope you're doing great. I'm so glad to be part of this. So I'm going to ask my question on live. So I said self-confidence is somehow not paying attention to what people are going to say about you, since you know yourself, you know your worth, the thing about you. But sometimes we're tricked to please people, especially when we first meet them. So how can we work through it? I mean, we know ourselves, but somehow we want to please people, to give a good image. And I mean, I always say to myself, since you know your value, it doesn't matter, but sometimes we're tricked. So that was my question. Thank you.
That totally makes sense. Yes. I would say the way that we perceive what people think about us, it's still our perception. And even if it's a direct message that, like, if I tell you, I think that you shouldn't have said that, or I don't like the way that you did that, that's still your perception of me saying it. And I'm still just projecting whatever of myself or limiting beliefs or whatever I'm going through you, like on you. I'm just projecting this on you. So first of all, we shouldn't take this personally. And second of all, don't take criticism from someone that you wouldn't take advice from. So think about whenever someone would give you feedback, ask yourself, would I be able to, or be willing, or want to take advice from this person? If I'm not, I shouldn't be listening to whatever they have to say in terms of criticism, especially because they're not in a good place anyway to decide or to give me their opinion of myself. I know myself better. And the way I projected myself to them, they perceived it through their senses, through their, I don't know, trauma or whatever it is, and trying to project this back on me. When you meet someone for the first time, or when you want to please someone, or you want to, let's say, give a good impression to this person, try, first of all, to be a good listener and try to focus on them instead of focusing on yourself, what you're able to project, or whatever kind of idea that you want to give them about you. Make this concentrated or focused on them. Listen to them, call them by their name, ask about them, give genuine interest in them. They will perceive it very well, and they will feel an amazing value on your side. Like, I could be talking to someone for an hour and just asking them questions about themselves and just being genuinely interested in them and not saying anything about myself. Eventually, at the end of the hour, they would think they had the most amazing conversation ever. They would say, I was so interesting, but they didn't even know what I was doing, or they didn't even know that much about me, but they just perceived a great value through me listening to them, and through this genuine interest that I was expressing to them. So that's the trick. Just stay genuinely interested in the person without actually having to put yourself that much out there.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. All right. So self-image, when we talk about self-image, and you talked about different, let's give some examples of some of the things that get in the way of a good self-image, those paradigms, for instance. I can think about, there's the I'm too much or I'm not enough. Those are some two big ones, right? So what do? We talked a little bit about the imposter syndrome and I'm too much, or who am I to do this? And she brought up a little bit about not enough, but what do you do to kind of work through those thoughts and feelings? What kind of things do you recommend with your clients? What do you work them through in order to shift some of those paradigms?
I was my very first client, and I was not an easy one.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
I needed a lot of work and a lot of attention for me to make the shifts, because one of the things I was telling myself, I actually had a great self-image, but I wasn't daring to express it. And that was the problem. So you might really think like very highly of yourself, but you think you're too much. Like I couldn't really express myself fully because I thought my friends would say like, are you crazy? Why are you doing all this? We already love you the way you are, like stay where you are. Right. So that was my limiting belief. Like I thought I was great in many aspects, but I didn't dare put all of me out there. Like I didn't dare unveil whatever it is in terms of potential or greatness I had in myself. So that was my my limiting belief, that I was too much. So the change I needed to make is that, am I willing to express myself fully and genuinely? And my answer to myself, honestly, was that I owe it to myself. Like I wouldn't be truly honest with myself if I kept a part of myself hidden. I like that part. I like that persona that I kept hidden for so many years. So it's time for her to show up and show off. Why not? Again, we need to have a strong ego, but not an ego problem. So yeah, it's a totally other limiting belief. The way that you think you're too much, it's a limiting belief because you're limiting your potential. You're limiting whatever value you can bring to other people.
Yeah, when we sat down together, well, we sat across the pond from each other, but we had an interview on the Wholeness Network podcast. It was a great interview. And we talked a little bit there about the changes that really showed up for you. And I wanted to see if there was, if you would talk about that a little bit, because you talked about you visibly and you changed dramatically. And so what kind of changes, what did that look like?
Yes. So first of all, let's talk about the why I needed to make that shift, and the why I needed to actually figure out what was the problem with my self-image and why was I acting the way I was acting. So it all started with some bad news that transformed into the best thing that ever happened to me. The bad news was me getting diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And eventually the first reflex or response to that was that, why me? I always had a very healthy lifestyle. I always I mean, I'm a fit person. I eat well. I sleep well. This is not fair, and I shouldn't be getting this illness, and this is not fair, and whatever kind of all negative self-talk that we might have, this kind of situation. And that was obviously a reaction from the shock that I had. And eventually, after a few days of feeling depressed and sad and sorry for myself, and said, hey, I actually have the choice to either accept or reject this idea. As I told you, I learned that we have the choice to control our thoughts, so I tried to implement that. And I said, okay, I can now have the choice to try to dig deeper into this. Why is my body attacking itself? What's happening there? It must be something in my mind that would trigger my body into action, because as I told you, the mechanism is pretty simple. Our thoughts trigger our feelings. Our feelings would trigger our body into action, whatever this is. The action might be a disease, might be me going out and inventing something, might be me going out and making a decision to change my life. It could be anything, but it's our feelings and our thoughts that were triggering this action. So I figured out eventually what was pushing my body into reacting this way. And the reason is not important, but changing whatever is happening is really the main focus. So this is when I try to get really focused on understanding my self-image, understanding my limiting beliefs, and then changing them. Mm. So I went through a whole lot of changes in the meantime, but the main change was for me to get into very honest and direct conversations with myself. We can be honest and direct with our beloved ones or our best friends, but sometimes we have a tendency to just avoid conversations with ourselves. So that was the hardest part, and that was me coaching me, the very difficult client, to do this and to go through this conversation. And my trick was to not have the conversations in my mind, so either out loud, so I wouldn't be able to just avoid it with another thought, or by writing. So I would do journaling a lot of journaling, because when you write, you trigger your mind into thinking. And when you're thinking and you see whatever you're thinking about, the ideas get pretty clear, and you can't just distract yourself because you need to finish that sentence. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. All right. Can you still hear me okay? You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All of a sudden I heard this sound in my ear. All right. Okay. So we have a question, and I think this is an important question and something really to pause and talk about. And if you want to come on and ask directly, I really encourage you to do that. But what about this environment? And, that's the thing, is when we're discussing, we're going to just talk in generals. But if you have something you want to generally say, yeah, but this is where I'm at, get some personalized coaching here. But what about when our environment, we're in a place where it doesn't support a good self-image? What do we do when we're in a place or an environment that impacts our self-image?
We usually are in an environment that would do its best for us not to outgrow the environment. And that's sadly true. Mm-hmm. So here we have a few choices. Depends on the situation. Like, you can't get rid of your whole environment, even if it's very sometimes toxic or limiting, or but you can make a few choices that would give you space for you to grow comfortably, without shocking anyone, without getting into arguments or whatever it is that may happen when you decide to outgrow the environment. But first of all, try to be more aware of your environment. See who you spend more time with. These people are actually shaping your results more than your skills, your DNA, whatever it is. Your environment is so impactful and so important in terms of results, in terms of your beliefs. So choose your environment wisely. And if you can change the environment in terms of, like, for example, the people you're hanging out with, if they're complaining all the time, if they're not really talking about new ideas or supporting you in any way or listening to you, you should maybe make the decision to change the environment or change the people you're hanging around with. But if these people are, for example, your family, your kids, your spouse, people you can't just change over a day, but in this situation, you can either choose to spend less time with these people, like come less often and stay in a shorter amount of time. Like, for example, if you go see your aunts and they're just criticizing the way you look, or criticizing the way you're not married yet, or whatever it is, like, don't come that often and don't stay that long. That's the end of the story. Just stay polite and nice enough for them to check out on you. But once it becomes toxic, it's time for you to let go. And eventually, as any other negative habit, try to focus on the good habit. Try to spend more time with more fulfilling people, with people that would bring you more to success. this way you will have much less time to spend with the people that bringing you down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a walk. Go for a walk.
Yeah.
And make that time your own special sacred time, and like do it intentionally, that this is my time to focus on and be fully myself and build my self image. That can make a big difference. Just a few minutes a day can make a big difference. But yeah, at the same time, I've got some compassion for you. I know it feels really hard sometimes when we're struggling, when it feels like we have a lot of pressure or a lot of situations, and that's why, again, you reach out and get support. You don't have to do it alone, and that's what Nina's here for.
Exactly. Yes,
that's what she's here for. All right, well, my friends, any other questions, any other anything you want Nina to answer? I hope everybody also, Nina gave us just a great workbook that we gave away with people that signed up on our website for to be able to be part of this event. So if you did not sign up through the website, make sure you again go to that link. I put it in the chat, and we can send that to you as well. We can make sure that gets to you. It was so great. Pages of really good insight, really good insight. But does anybody else have any other questions? Nina, is there any other little tidbits that you want to
yes. In the
help us?
meantime, I have a few exercises to suggest you do, guys. So
Great.
The first exercise, the mirror exercise. You have to go and face yourself and talk to yourself just for a few seconds for the first time. If it's really challenging, just look at this person and tell them at least something, one thing you're grateful for and one thing you like about them. They will tell you back the same thing, I assure you, and it's a great thing. But as right. I told you, I did that. It was not obvious. I was just like whispering just for a second, but then I really started to get familiar with this girl that I really love. And the other day I said, I think it was the kindest thing that I ever said to myself. Like out of nowhere, I was just doing something around the house, and I just said out loud, I really like being you. It came out of nowhere, and it made me feel amazing. It was like someone else said it.
Yeah.
But still, I needed to get that comfortable with myself to actually tell myself this kind of positive talk. So it's not obvious, but once it's there, once you establish this relationship with yourself, you will get to know yourself even better, and you will get to identify your true self-image. And once you get to have a high self-image and a very positive image of yourself, you can do whatever you want. So the first exercise is to go to talk to yourself, even for a few seconds in the mirror. The second thing I would recommend is to start journaling for a few minutes every day. Write about 3 or 4 things you're grateful for about yourself every day. Like, I like the way I'm a good listener. I like the way I'm a good mother. I like the way that I really pay attention to the little things around me. I like the way I try to romanticize my life. I like the way I make coffee. I like the way I cook. I like the way I look. Could be really anything. But once you enumerate 3 or 4 things, you'll feel so much better. You feel so much confident right away. So it gives you a great boost, especially at the beginning of the day. So try to do that. And one more advice I can give you, and this could be actually a whole other topic, is whatever it is that you want to do, whatever your goal is, believe this, that you will not achieve the goal unless and until you become the person that is able to achieve that goal. Like, let's say I want to be a millionaire by the end of the year. If I'm not the person that is supposed to be a millionaire by the end of the year, and then if I'm not acting like that person, the first million will not show up.
Mhm.
It will only show up once I start acting and behaving and talking like that person. So you need to become that person. Go figure out what they're doing. Go figure out and see how they talk, what's their daily routine like. You
Mhm.
cannot make the same, you cannot make this amount of money being the same person that's doing the same thing today, right? So
Right.
you need to become that person, for the things that that person would have would come to you.
Hmm. Yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah. I was telling a group yesterday that, to stop and think for a minute, just pause for a minute and think about you as the most rare commodity in the universe. You're rarer than diamonds, rarer than gold. There's only one of you. And that makes you priceless. That makes you so valuable. And the truth is all of us out here, we can kind of, there's a piece in us that can accept that about you, because we're all having our own internal struggle. So it's the internal work to do. It's not about this external validation. It's about that internal validation. It goes along with what you just said. If I'm not one that can hold the place of my value, then I can't, then it's not going to come. It doesn't come, the action doesn't come just because we want it to, like there's a process to happen, and getting from point A to point B can look different for different people. But it's a journey. It's a real journey of discovery and of transformation that you talk about. And I think just that self little talk, nobody knows that you're talking to yourself if you're walking around your home and I look so great, and look at me, I'm wonderful. Like, you don't have to be embarrassed by that. Nobody's going to know, but just try it. I think that's so good. I think that is really powerful. And I double dare you all to try it. Double dare you to try it and see if it doesn't make a difference in your life. So yeah, you said you could talk a little more about that. Is there anything else you wanted to say? I don't know if I interrupted.
Yes. So the main focus and the main process you should go through this goal achieving journey is to become the person that will achieve that goal. And this is why we started with this topic of the self-image, because it's at the center of whatever that you want to do. You need to figure out what's your current self-image is, and who you need to be in order for you to achieve your goal. Like, if you want to be in a more fulfilling and loving relationship, you need to be more fulfilled and loving person.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot act the same way you acted in your previous toxic relationship, for example, and expect your soulmate to show up and love you unconditionally and live happily forever after. So you cannot do that unless you do the work on yourself. You cannot have an amazing body if you do not go to the gym and put the effort and drop a little sweat. So you need to figure out what's missing from the future image for you to get there, what you need to get there, and then figure out the work, and then go through the process, make the changes. The journey sometimes could be challenging because our paradigm is here to put us and keep us in our comfort zone. The intention of the paradigm is actually good, is actually to just protect us, save our life. It's our just fight or flight reaction. So it's actually for good, from a good intention, but we know better. We have an intellect. We can choose whatever is better for us. So if my paradigm tells me that no, today is raining and I feel tired and I haven't slept enough, so I probably shouldn't go to the gym, I would say, no, sorry, that's fine. I totally understand. That's interesting, but I made a promise to myself. I owe it to myself, and my future self is waiting out there, waiting for me to become her in order for her results to come to me.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of talk that we should have with ourselves.
Yeah. And if I slow it down just a bit, I really like the way that you actually, you said, there is a reason why this paradigm came in. And so I love the way that you listened to it for a minute. You said, I hear you, you're here, and I make this choice. So there's just that little tiny pause in there where we just kind of let that exist We're just not letting it make the choices. And so that's a kind of a compassionate way at looking at things.
That's very important, because we needed to bring it to the surface.
Yes.
Because if we cannot really be aware of this inner talk of the paradigm, we can just go through our day and move into action without even considering what's happening. Like, why didn't I go to the gym this morning? I totally forgot why, but I remember I had a reason. I don't know what the reason was. It's probably not a good reason, but for whatever reason, that was enough for me to not move into action, not put my sneakers on and go to the gym. So first step is to acknowledge the self-talk. Listen up, what's the message that's being broadcasted into my brain, and then have a discussion with it, have a conversation and say, no, I choose not to do that because this and that, or because I just owe it to myself.
Totally. And I love, someone put in the comments, being forgiving towards yourself. That's a part of it. So self-forgiveness, how does that play into a self-image?
Yes, I'm the kind of person that would reiterate all the stupid things that we said during the day, and all the spelling mistakes that we made while speaking, and all the different kind of things that we should have said this instead of that. So at the end of the day, I'm just reiterating this before sleeping, obviously.
Is that you or is that me? Are you talking to me or are you talking to you?
Myself.
Right.
But I think we all been through this situation where so tough and so criticizing of ourselves, and we are just beating ourselves up because we said this instead of that, or we made this kind of mistake, and oh, I'm so stupid, I shouldn't have done that. How can I possibly have thought this, and how could I possibly have said that? So my trick is that usually it's a thought and it's not loud. So I would say something out loud immediately to interrupt the thought. Just, I don't know, start a song or just change the conversation, but make it loud for you to stop the thought, stop this vibration, and just shift it to something else. So whenever I'm remembering something stupid I said during the day, I would say, yeah, la, 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 whatever. I'm going to just change the subject, or just put some song and start singing, and just like, I'm not listening to you. This is it. So, and it works. And eventually I'll just stand in front of the mirror and said, hey, I know you're doing great. You did your best. You do what was your best at that time. I totally forgive you. Let's move on. The person you probably said the stupid thing to wasn't probably even listening, or they probably forgot it. Like, I can remember stupid things that I said in high school. Yes. And I'm sure the people won't even remember my name. So, and I still beat myself up because of that. Like, doesn't make any sense.
So true. So true. I have one that when I was little, I had my older sister I remember this, it was a memory, sitting on the bed, and I was talking to her about, I would have nightmares. And she taught me to blink my eyes really tight. I was like changing the channel on the television. And so it's funny, it's just a few years ago, I caught myself doing that. I would do this big and it was the way to flip myself out of my inner chatter, my negative inner chatter. And so you can use it if you'd like, but that was one of mine, is just to feel it, just to change it. It was that same way. So someone asked, how do you trick your mind into not thinking you are broken when you are?
Stay in the picture. Visualize your financial goal, have a vision board, have whatever it takes for you to stay in the picture, stay in the image that you're creating. Have this image so clear and so bright in your mind that you wouldn't let your current results dictate whatever you want to achieve. You have to switch the thought, you have to switch the frequency that you're operating on, for you to go through this situation and eventually overcome the fact that you're broke. Acknowledge the fact that you're broke. I'm not saying to start living in an extravagant way when you don't have the means to, but when you get to have whatever means that you can, try to treat yourself and try to figure out, what would my future which version of me do in this situation? try to, as much as possible, of course, implement their habit. Maybe, I mean, if the future rich version of you would go to this club, or would buy this kind of shoes, or would buy whatever kind of things that you want to buy that you can't afford now, try to picture yourself doing it. Like, try to, I don't know, eventually you can just Photoshop yourself on your boat, or on your future big house that you want to buy, and then just put it on your vision board, or put it in the background of your smartphone, for example. This way you can stay connected to this vision, and you will not let the present result dictate whatever the outcome should be, whatever the goal should be. So stay focused on the image, try to act as this future version of yourself within your means, of course, and then try to trick yourself into coming up with new ideas every day to actually change the situation. So if I'm broke today and I want to make a change, and I want to generate this amount of income by the end of the year, the fact that I would bring myself every day to this vision of me having this income would trick my brain into coming up with whatever idea it can come up with that would eventually bring me to this outcome. So try to stay in the vision for your brain to actually come up with ideas to help you go there.
I love that. And if I could add one thing, like if we can expand that picture you talked about into money is also a resource. And if we can also, I wrote down a couple things quickly. We also have other resources. We have our talents and our gifts that we're good at. That's resources for our lives. We have time. Time is a resource. Relationships are resource. Money are really resources, and health are resources. So expand that out, and so that deficit that doesn't, it just takes up one piece of our resources, and then it kind of builds that little bit of muscle to say, okay, maybe I do have resources available to me. And anyway, that was just something that popped in my mind, is because I think that's something we think about a lot.
Exactly. Like, for example, let's say today I lost my job and I'm broke, and I need to figure out a way to start my business by the end of the year, for example. In the meantime, the fact that I lost my job is an opportunity for me, because I have the time to think about this business I always wanted to create, right? So this is an opportunity. So try to figure out whatever kind of other resource that you have. Could be time, could be you're actually around your family more now that you're not working, so you can enjoy this time that you always wanted to have. You can have more opportunity to focus on creating the business. Could be anything. So try to look at the good in each situation and figure out a way to go through it.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. We've all been there. Well, if there's any other last questions, maybe we can start to wind up. If anybody has any last questions, you can put them in the chat, or again, you're welcome to come on and talk. In the meantime, how do you want to wrap up, Nina? What are some last thoughts you have about this transforming your self-image and the fact that it's maybe it's at the root of all the rest of the experiences we're having? Would you say that's true?
I would say definitely that's true. It is at the root of every aspect of our life. Our relationships, the position that we hold at work, our income, the way we look, it's all a reflection of our self-image. And what I see all people are doing sometimes is that they're trying to change their outcome, their relationships, the way they look, the way they act. All these are reflections of what's going on the inside. So it's as if I was trying to change my reflection in the mirror without changing the way I look. It's not going to happen. You have to change the way you see yourself first in order for this reflection to change. So we have to first acknowledge that whatever results that we have, everything in our life is a reflection of our self-image. So in order to change anything, we have to see what kind of self-image, what kind of idea that we are suggesting to our subconscious mind that's making us behave or generating this kind of result. Then eventually work on the inside for us to be able to change the outside.
So great. I love it. All right. Well, we have just been this has been great. We've got lots of people saying that there was so much value here and that they really enjoyed everything that you taught, Nina. And we're grateful here at the Wholeness Network that you would take your time with us and teach us. I encourage everybody to go to that, thewholenessnetwork.com, or thewholenessnetwork.com is a great place to go. And also the podcast, you can get the podcast on any of the platforms that you get podcasts. And it's called the Wholeness Network Podcast with Michelle Wingle, I think is what it's called. But we've got an episode with Nina, and she talks even more about different things. And it's really great. Maybe some of her own experiences and things like that. Also, we'll be back here in 2 more weeks, and we're going to be talking about relationships. This time, I'm actually taking the hot seat. First, this is our 3rd episode of the Wholeness Network show. We did a dream analysis workshop last time, and it was really fascinating. You can see the replay on the Wholeness Network show page, on the wholenessnetwork.com page. And we've got somebody raising their hand. Oh, are we? Oh, clapping. Sorry, I just thought that was raising a hand. Thank you for clapping. But yeah, so next time I'm going to talk about relationships, and my hope is that you will come and ask questions about your relationship. What do I do with my relationship with my child? What do I do with my relationship with my spouse? And we can really get some understanding and get to the root of some of those difficulties. And so I invite you to join us back here again in a couple of weeks. We will, if you are subscribed to our site, we will get you the information and the link so that you can be part of it. And so we invite you, and we're hopeful that you'll make it again. And we are grateful for Nina. We will put her. We'll send out like just a little thank you email for being with us, and we will send you along with in that her information so that you can have some one-on-one time with her. She is an amazing coach, as you can see. She's got great credentials and a lot more tools that she can share with you. And she's got things in our library, and so we're grateful for that. And with that, we will sign off until another day. But thank you everybody for being here. You are amazing. I am so grateful to get to be with you and spend this time. I'm over here in the United States. Nina's in Paris. Everyone, if you want to tell me where you're at, I'd love to know where you're at. But it's a great time to be here and to be able to speak around the world. This is something that we haven't been able to do. Oh, Denmark, Paris, love it. Thank you so much for being part of this time together. Switzerland, bye. That's my family place. Florida, love it. I love it. UK, great. Tanzania, perfect. Awesome. Well, I hope to be with you again, and we will see you next time. You're invited. We'll see you.